Greetings, class. This video is the first of 3 videos on descriptive statistics. When we describe a data set, our primary focus is on obtaining measures of central tendency, measures of variation, and graphing the shape of the distribution of variables. The topic of this video is measures of central tendency. What is central tendency? Central tendency refers to a typical value that represents an entire distribution. For a given variable, measures of central tendency provide a sense of the average, or a score around which most values cluster. The 3 common measures of central tendency are mode, median, and mean. Mode is the most frequently occurring score in a distribution. For example, if the variable age takes the following values: 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 15, and 18, the mode is 15 because it occurs 3 times, more than any other values in the list. A distribution can be unimodal, bimodal, or multimodal. In this example, age is unimodal. Think about this. What values could you add to make it a bimodal distribution? As we discussed last week, there are 4 measurement scales: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Mode is the simplest measure of central tendency and can be applied to all 4 types of variables. Another measure of central tendency is the median. Let's continue with the variable age. To find the median, we first sort the values from lowest to the highest. The median is the middle score, which is 14 in this case. If a variable has an even number of scores, we take the average of the 2 middle scores after sorting. Median cannot be used with nominal variables because nominal values are simply numeric labels and they cannot be logically ordered from low to high. The last measure of central tendency is the mean. The mean is the arithmetic average of all scores for a variable. For the age example, if we add all 9 values and divide by 9, the mean is 14. Because calculating the mean requires addition and division, it's applicable only to quantitative variables. Unlike the mode or median, the mean can be manipulated mathematically in ways that are useful for further analysis. However, the mean is very sensitive to extreme values. For instance, if we replace 18 with 118 in our data set, the mean increases from 14 to 25. This single extreme value nearly doubles the mean. Finally, the mean has 2 important mathematical properties. First, the difference between each individual score and the mean is called the deviation score. The sum of all deviation scores for a variable is always 0. Second, if we square each deviation score to eliminate negative values, the sum of these squared deviations is smaller than the sum of the squares based on deviations from any other value. In other words, the mean is the measure of central tendency in the least squares sense. To summarize, we have 3 measures of central tendency: mode, median, and mean. You should choose the appropriate measure based on the type of a variable. Mode can be applied to all four types of variables. Mean is only suitable for quantitative variables. Median also works for quantitative variables, or more broadly, for any variables whose values can be logically ordered.